They say it's easier than ever to be a musician, but harder than ever to find success in the music business. But what if that just depends on your definition of success? Is it 5 million monthly listeners and sold out world tours, or are there other ways to make it? Today, I sat down with Matt Farley, one of the most prolific and hardworking songwriters in history, to chat about his unique approach as an independent musician who doesn't play by the music industry's rules. Releasing dozens of albums every year under a variety of monikers, this hyperactive release cycle isn't easy to maintain, but it has earned Matt a cult following and a solid career without compromising his artistic identity to meet label demands. This interview is chock full of solid advice from Matt's 2 decade long career, and if you want more, check out the playlist linked below or catch him at one of his upcoming shows in Philadelphia, New Hampshire, or Massachusetts. So let's just jump right in. Because of your unique approach to songwriting and releasing music, do you feel like you've sort of found like a loophole in the algorithm or pulled one over on the music industry?
Um, no, I don't. I mean, no, I don't think the thing is I do hear words like loophole and gaming the system to describe me, and usually those things are to describe like easy easy ways to do things. Like get rich quick schemes, and it's like this has not been a quick ordeal, but for like this is get middle class slow. That's my current scheme. And so no, the only loophole I've found is that if you work really really hard at doing stuff that you love to do, if you're lucky you can have a little bit of success with it. So that's the way I look at it, for sure. And I definitely know, like I see comments sometimes under articles about me from other musicians who say, "Oh, I'm going to do what he does." And I think most of them quit after 2 weeks because it's not so
Oh
easy.
yeah, I mean, yeah, your release schedule. I mean, what the typical album cycle is maybe one album a year, maybe one every 2 years, and you're doing
A few a month.
more than that to
Yeah.
put in
Yeah.
one a month, two or three a month more.
Exactly. Yeah. And also like the thing that other people don't think of is I'm completely independent, and so I'm not just writing and recording the music. I'm making the album covers. I'm The worst part is for every album I have to spend like 3 4 hours at my laptop like typing in every song title, all the metadata, clicking all these buttons. It's very tedious. It's not like the rock star life of which many of us dream.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's we mostly cover independent and DIY musicians, and that's a pretty common issue where it's like you want to focus on just the creative stuff, and then you're being your own manager and booking your own gigs and doing like all of like 8 jobs all as one person.
Yeah, but I complain about it, of course, but I wouldn't. It's better this way, because I'm guiding the ship. I'm making my own decisions, whether if they're good or bad. I'm living with them because I think a lot of creative people feel this way. It's hard to get into a new project if it's not your thing that you really want to do. And so anytime someone wants me to do something, then like all the gears stop moving and it just becomes like a difficult process. So I probably wouldn't want it any other way, but who knows? A multi-million-dollar record contract can make it easier to do a few things you wouldn't normally do, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And you're mostly well known for what some people would consider like novelty music, right? But do you feel that there's still sort of a vulnerability in the artistic process there? And how do you balance the silliness with sincerity?
Yeah. So I think I think the trick that the crazy part about the novelty songs is that and many people have pointed this out to me where they're just like, oh, this guy makes a lot of novelty songs, and then at some point they're like, wait a second, this is good. Like like
Right?
turtlehead po- turtlehead poop by the Toilet Bowl Cleaners has no business being as rockin' and catchy and fantastic as it is. And so I think that's my secret weapon, is that I'm bringing a certain quality of songwriting skill to topics that no one would ever waste that quality on. So I think that's my secret weapon. And then I just think like songwriting is like a craft that you have to keep exercising. And so by forcing myself to write these songs all the time, I'm inevitably just getting better at it. With every weird, silly, throwaway song that I write, I'm getting better at being a songwriter. And then when it comes time, I call them my no jokes albums, which I put out usually a few of those a year, which is the more sincere stuff. And I think all the silly songs, everything I learned, every little songwriting trick or idea or concept that I learned from the silly songs, I can apply to these no joke songs and make them even better. So it's it's good stuff all the way around.
Yeah, and you have a playlist, right, with like collection of some of your best work or what you consider to be the really highlights of your career.
Yeah. I've got a few playlists. I've got the No Jokes playlist, which is all those songs. Then I've got the official Moturn Media playlist, which is a mix of the best novelty songs and the best No Jokes songs. And it's also fun. Like usually my like automatic email signature says like click here for my 300 best songs on Spotify, which is a funny concept for it to be like just the 300 best. Here's a little sample for you.
Oh yeah, usually like an artist will have one greatest hits album and it's like 24 songs, but you have that 10 times over. Yeah, we'll be
Yes.
sure to throw a link to that in the description for this video so people
Thank
can
you.
check out the real gold from your
Hmm.
collection. Um, and then kind of shifting gears a little bit, in an interview you did with a college radio station, you talked about watching documentaries about some legendary music scenes and kind of having this realization that in a lot of those cases, that sense of being special or like an important period in time is only really ascribed in hindsight, right? And then
Yeah.
you kind of talk about doing a similar thing with your hometown in New Hampshire and trying to create this mythology of having this thriving underground art scene, even if there really wasn't much going on outside of your immediate circle.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you had any advice for artists who find themselves in a similar position, feeling sort of creatively isolated and wishing they had more community to work with.
Yeah. Well, I think a good trick, and I don't know if you can force this on yourself or not, but like my general outlook on everything is this is so awesome. And so like I was living in Manchester, New Hampshire after I graduated college, and plenty of people I know I've brought to Manchester, and they're like, what's so good about this? I'm like, what's so good about this? It's Manchester. Look at it. They got buildings. This is so cool. Like, and we filmed a lot of movies there, me and my friends, when I lived there. And so basically what I'm saying is that if you just put legendary status upon wherever you are and whatever you're doing, then at least for you it'll be legendary. And if you're as like outgoing as I am, then maybe you can convince some other people that it's legendary. And that's the thing. Like everything, including like history, the stuff that makes it in the history books is like the result of like a marketing campaign, sort of. Like people had to advocate. Like when they're writing history books, some people in the room are like advocating, we gotta mention this or that or this or that. And so it's not cool. Like it's not cool, to be like,
Oh yeah, I mean they say the victors write the history, right? So you're kind of declaring
yeah,
yourself the victor of New Hampshire.
I'm the victor of the art scene of New Hampshire, or anything like that. So basically, and it's embarrassing too. I should add, and a lot of artistic people are kind of like a little shy, a little sensitive, and so that's why a lot of people do get managers, or agents or record companies to do it for them. But that with that comes a lot of other things. So if you can if you can stand to do it, be your own cheerleader, be your own cheerleader for where you are and what you do. And that's still no guarantee it's going to catch on, but might as well give it a try. What else are we going to do?
Yeah, yeah. I love the perseverance there. And talking about being Euro manager again too, I was listening to an interview with Lady Gaga yesterday, actually. And she talked about very early on in her career calling different venues and pretending to be a manager
Yes.
and saying like you have to book this girl, she's the next big thing, and that sort of self-advocacy I think is really important for underground artists, whether you're just saying hi, I am this artist, or if you're
Yeah.
maybe trying to play a character.
Yeah, some
Do
people
you
will,
feel like you
well, let me just say, some people will even set up a separate email account called like booking for whatever the artist is at Gmail, and it's just you. But like, for some reason, when you show up and say book me, people are like, get out of my face, I don't want to hear from you. But if someone else shows up and raves about you, somehow that has more value to a lot of people. So that's definitely a thing. I do feel like a little, I've never done that, just because it does feel slightly deceptive, and it's like I'd rather lose honestly than win. But it turns out I could be as successful as Lady Gaga if I had just made that little concession. Alas.
Oh yeah, I mean you could have a sold out weekend at Madison Square Garden, who knows.
Yeah, but hey, at
um
least I'm playing Ruba Club in Philly, so I got that going for me.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for that show. I bought tickets as soon as I saw them go on sale because I've loved your stuff for years, and I was never like, oh yeah, I would go see him live, but I was like, well, right down the street, of course, I have to go.
Yeah, well, I'm pumped.
Are you when you play live?
Go
When you
for it.
play live, do you primarily do the no joke stuff, or do you mix it with more of the comedy?
Yeah.
What's your approach to playing live shows?
Oh, I'm a crowd pleaser big time. I know what the people want, and the people want to have a good time, funny, silly, ridiculous songs. We sneak in. We have some of the no joke songs that are pretty rockin' and you can dance to and have fun with, and we slip those in. And what, a few little heartfelt tear jerkers just to maintain a little credibility. But we've done enough shows that like and uh, we do regularly. We do like a 5-hour show, usually once a year, and so it's a good way to figure out what works and what doesn't. So now that we're doing more like 90-minute shows, it's like, oh, that's a piece of cake. We can just like jam pack 90 minutes with nothing but bangers, and we know people are gonna have a good time because we've done it enough times to see that it absolutely works. So yeah, I can't wait. We're gonna have a blast.
Awesome. Who's like the usual scene that comes out for your stuff? Do you have like an audience that you regularly see?
Yeah, I see. I see a lot of college age people in their 20s, for the most part, or at least they're the ones who get the most into it. They're the ones dancing in the front and screaming and shouting for requests and whatnot. If it's a all ages venue, then we also see parents with much younger kids who are fans of pooping my fingernails and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'd say, and what's crazy is like I've been putting out songs for 21 years at this point. So there's people come to me, adults come to me and say, I grew up on your music, which is wild.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like a similar scene to other like sort of comedy or novelty bands that I've seen before. I don't know if you're familiar with the Aquabats, but they are like a ska punk band, and they have this like superhero theme, and they had a kids TV show. It was a whole thing. And so their crowd is a good mix of like hardcore punks and families with children. So
Nice.
it's always
Yeah,
like, okay, guys, you have to turn down the moshing. There's 5-year-olds here. Be careful, everyone. Up next, we're playing
absolutely.
Pizza Party. Let's go. So, yeah, I love that sort of stuff. I love when artists are fully, serious in their work that you're doing, because it's important and it's hard work, and I think there's value too in comedy and making people laugh. It's important when things are the way they are. You
Yeah,
just need a
yeah.
little
I
picking
mean,
up
you could.
sometimes.
The whole show, to some degree, is almost like a performance art piece, where it's just like, are these guys really gonna sing like songs about office supplies and toilet humor and food and animals for 90 minutes? And the answer is yes, and it's gonna be so much fun.
That's awesome. All right, that's pretty much all I've got. But do you have any upcoming projects? I know we have the show in Philly on, is it the 21st,
Yeah.
22nd?
21st, Friday the
Okay, I
21st
should
in
have that in front
Philly.
of me.
No problem. Then I'm playing Cambridge, Massachusetts on March 21st. I'm very excited about that at Cantab Underground. And otherwise, I'm putting out one of those no jokes. I'm doing a no jokes release every month this year, so that's been fun. And I would just like to advocate for giving yourself a deadline. Deadlines are very good, and forcing yourself to follow it. Now, a lot of people will give themselves a creative deadline, and then it'll fall through, and then they just give up. So my trick is I tell absolutely everyone about it, because then I feel I don't want to let them down, even though those people don't care. Like, I imagine, oh, they're going to be disappointed in me if I don't do it. And so that's like a good way to maintain your deadlines. So make deadlines, announce your deadlines publicly, put it out on social media, and that'll keep you honest and keep you being as creative as you want to be, because it's so easy to just surrender, and at any point in the process of creating anything, you have these moments of total despair and dejection, and you're like, what's the point? And you have to fight through that and just get it finished with. So that's what I'd like to promote: having deadlines.
I love that. And yeah, by sharing it with other people too, you're like kind of building hype, even if there's not as big of an audience or something. I mean, I have a music project with like 5 followers on Instagram or something,
Yeah.
and I'm still like posting my stories. You have to you build it and they will come.
Yeah, yeah. Treat it like a job, way before it becomes one. But if you treat it like one, then when it does become one, you'll be ready for it.
Yeah, that's great advice too. You're just like spouting off all these really valuable ideas. And I know you have a book as well, right? The Moturn method.
Yes, absolutely. It's got tons of
Awesome.
stuff like that. Okay, I'll give you one more. Say yes to all your ideas. That's my other advice. Like, something pops in your head, whether whether you like the idea or not, it doesn't matter. Just, you have to do it, because your creative brain won't give you any new ideas if you're not doing anything with the ideas that it's giving you. So boom, you have an idea, you have to do it, no matter how good or bad or hard or easy it is. And then you finish it, you put it out there, and then pop, hey, new idea starts coming. So just say yes to every bad idea. And the crazy thing is, the things that you think are good ideas, nobody likes, and the things you think are bad ideas, everybody is raving about. So you're a bad judge of your work. Just make it and move on.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And sometimes you have to get through the bad ideas to get to the good ideas.
Yes, yes. And in the process, so here, wow, I promise I'll stop talking soon.
No, no, I'm not in any rush. So keep chatting.
So if you finish even things that you're bad at, and even if it is bad and no one else likes it, it's super good, because you have you have practiced finishing a project. You've gotten into the habit of finishing a project, and you just have figured out exactly what you need to do to get to the end of something, so that when a good idea comes, good, you've got a bunch of tools that you can use, to see that one come to fruition too. So yeah, that's a very good one too.
Yeah, and that makes me think too. I feel like there's always a lot of pressure around the idea of like a debut album or like someone's first release. And they say that you have your entire life to put out your first album, but sometimes the first album is not all it's cracked up to be. You have to put out two or three or four or five to really get to the like heart of what you're trying to do and to figure yourself out artistically.
Yes, 100%. Don't be precious about anything. Like, most movies are no good. Most movies are bad, and tons of people put tons of effort, years of their lives, and tons of money into it. And on average, they're not any good. Probably most albums too. So it's like, yeah, it's just an album. Who cares? If you're really, really embarrassed by it, put it out under a pseudonym, maybe. But I think putting stuff out there is a good way to free up your mind for the next thing. Because like if you record something and then just keep it, on a computer file, you're not really done. Like you could technically tinker with it, and that might get in the way of thinking about what's really next. So I say, yeah, put it out there, and don't be precious about it. Who cares? I mean, I've written almost 26,000 songs, and most of them are still under 1,000 plays, on Spotify. They don't count it until it goes over 1,000, and the vast majority of mine haven't even done that. And it's totally fine. Look at me. I'm getting interviewed about my music, which is so cool, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm really glad that we could get this set up. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you later next week.
All right. Yeah, we're going to have fun. I'll see you then.
Awesome. All right. Have a good rest of your day.